Morning. It's almost afternoon. Hello, Titans. Welcome. We are back for another installment of Titan Table Talks. My name is Philip Vasquez. I use pronouns he, him, and his, and I serve as the Director of Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Programs here at Cal State Fullerton. This dialogue is being brought to you today by the Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Programs Office in partnership with the Office of the President, Alumni Engagement, and Government and Community Relations. Titan Table Talks are a monthly dialogue series in which panelists are invited to speak on their personal experiences as they relate to a selected theme. This year's theme is empowerment, and for the month of February, we are bringing you Titan Table Talks titled Empowering Black Communities for Black History Month. This event seeks to educate participants on the impact of various social justice issues as they pertain to certain cultural identities with the goal of promoting racial equity at Cal State Fullerton. Before we start, we have a few logistical details and tips to ensure you are able to engage in this dialogue. The first one being that this event is broadcast on a Zoom webinar, so your cameras and microphones will be off the entire time. You will only be able to see the panelists and the speakers. Number two, if you would like to engage with our panel or team behind the scenes, please use the Q&A function in the menu bar and we will be able to field questions through that function. Number three, this event is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Programs YouTube channel with closed captioning available. And finally, at the end of the dialogue, you will receive a feedback link to help us improve this program as we provide ideas for future events. Today, our moderator and panelists will be engaging in a dialogue about empowerment in Black communities. However, before we get to that, we would like to play a message from Cal State Fullerton President Fran Byrd, who was unable to be here today but sent along recorded remarks.
Welcome to Titan Table Talks, Empowering Black Communities to Honor Black History Month. I am so disappointed that I'm unable to join you live today. I normally would never miss this event, but I'm pre-recording this message today because there was an opportunity for our Black Titans that I just could not miss. I was invited to attend the Orange County's Black Chamber Future Leaders Luncheon and to raise funds for our Black Student Scholarship Fund. So I'm sorry that I can't attend with you live, but know that there's really no other reason I would have missed this event. And the good thing is I know it's being recorded so I can watch it later. The theme of this year's Titan Table Talk series speaks directly to the panelists' personal experiences with overcoming systemic barriers and their stories of perseverance. By speaking from a lens of empowerment, our campus community will learn what kind of barriers marginalized communities face and the progression from marginalization to success. As an institution, our goal is to move from a place of acknowledgement of these barriers to actual actions through allyship and solidarity. I would like to thank Dr. Philip Vasquez, Chloe Eddy, and the Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity Programs for all their work on this program. I also want to thank our Offices of Government and Community Relations and Alumni Relations for their partnership. And a special thank you to our amazing moderator, our very own Dr. Portia Preston, Associate Professor of Public Health. Dr. Preston conducts research on multiple levels on the approaches to self-care, and in her research examines how stressors such as racism contribute to health inequities. She was a featured speaker at TED Talk Crenshaw, where she gave a talk entitled The Missing Ingredient in Self-Care. She works with organizations to prevent and manage burnout by fostering sustainable performance and resilience. She is also a strong mentor and a sage to many of us, including me, on our campus regarding issues of self-care and resilience. And I would also like to thank our amazing panelists. Najati Burrow, class of 2015, is currently the Principal Design Engineer for RICK, or RIC Engineering. He graduated from Cal State Fullerton in 2015 with his Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering. While on campus, he served as president of both the National Society of Black Engineers, or NSBE, and Divine Servants, as well as the Director of Administration for the Black Student Union, or the BSU. Najati also cultivates his own business as a DJ and has done so for about 8 years now, working at weddings, company parties, as well as a number of events at Cal State Fullerton. Even now, Najati still serves as a mentor and resource to students at Cal State Fullerton and has joined the NSBE professionals in LA and young Black professionals here in Orange County. Najati hopes to inspire young kids to pursue careers in STEM and strives himself to one day own his own civil engineering firm. We also have Byrd, currently who serves as the first Black female executive vice president with the Associated Students, Inc., and is a Master of Social Work candidate at Cal State University, Long Beach. More importantly for me, she graduated from Cal State Fullerton in the spring of 2020 with a Bachelor's of Science in Child and Adolescent Studies and with a focus on family and community contexts, and with a minor in Spanish. She is an Army veteran, and I am so thankful for her service. She is a first-generation college student and first in her family to pursue a master's degree. Diamond has a passion for community, advocacy, education, and with career goals of supporting Black students navigating higher education. She has an amazing aspiration. She hoped one day to start a Black college in the Inland Empire in Southern California, where she is from. Diamond aims to inspire other leaders like herself to use their voices to advocate for the voiceless and to improve resources and experiences of the Black Pan-African community in educational attainment and success. I have to tell you, Diamond inspires me just about every time we get the chance to spend any time together. We also have Troy Harrison, who was born and raised in San Diego, California. Currently, Troy resides in Irvine with his wife, Kathy Aparicio Harrison, and 2 children, Isaac, 14, and Ava, 11. His third child is a French Bulldog Raider Dodger Harrison. That's a mouthful. Troy attended University of Northern Colorado, where he majored in marketing and minored in speech communication, while also a member of the UNC Bears football team. But he is now, today, an honorary Titan. Welcome to the Titan family, Troy. Over the past 10 years plus, Troy has been a proud board member and ambassador for the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, with which Cal State Fullerton has a very close relationship. Troy currently is at LH Global Consulting and has been in the staffing industry for 25 plus years, working for some of the largest companies in that industry, such as Randstad, Manpower, Robert Half, and Kforce, just to name a few. And last but not least is Daisha McDaniel. Daisha is a purpose-driven, family-oriented woman who longs to provide resources to those who are unaware of them by helping them to open doors and create new opportunities that elevate communities of color. After obtaining her Bachelor's of Arts in Communication with a concentration in Entertainment Studies from, of course, Cal State Fullerton, Daisha began her career focusing on brand marketing and event production for international brands and A-list clientele. She later went on to obtain her master's in business administration with an emphasis in marketing from Howard University. In her current role as the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategic Programs Advisor for the Diversity Vertical at the gaming company Activision Blizzard, Daisha's role focuses on all things related to attraction and retention for internal and external diverse representation within that organization. Daisha works closely with HR, talent acquisition, and marketing teams to ensure that the proper strategies are put into place to help keep the company inclusive and hold leaders accountable for making practices more equitable for all. And finally, I want to thank all of you for being here for Titan Table Talks as we discuss empowering Black communities. Cal State Fullerton's goal is to do exactly that. As many of you know, over the past few years, more Black Titans earned their bachelor's degree than in any other year in our history. And more historically underrepresented Titans earned their bachelor's degree and master's degree than in any other year in our history. As I often say, this kind of success is not by accident. Instead, it is by intentional design, with many Titan programs focused on upholding and enhancing a welcoming, inclusive, and equitable academic environment for Black students in and around Orange County. That includes our partnership with the Black Chamber of Commerce to create the Racial Equity and Inclusion Framework for Orange County businesses. That also includes our partnership with the OC Community Foundation to create our Titan Black Student Scholarship Fund. And it includes the recent hiring of the most diverse new cohort of tenure-track faculty in our history and our largest ever group of incoming ethnic studies faculty. And it includes the establishment of our Institute of Black Intellectual Innovation, which I am very proud of. It also includes the recent creation and implementation of Cal State Fullerton's Guiding Principles for Social Justice, our Male Success Initiative, our Male Youth Empowerment Conference, and our African American Resource Center, and on and on. And while we are right, and we should applaud the faculty, staff, and partners who have worked tirelessly to create and enhance these and many other initiatives, we also know that there is a lot more work to do. We know it is not enough, and it will not be enough until every Black student at Cal State Fullerton can live where they choose, on campus or off, without fear of hate or violence or racism. Today, our panel will focus on empowerment, resilience, and community. And we cannot talk about empowerment without considering the landscape that our Black Titans are navigating during their ongoing educational journeys. As a nation, we have been fully awakened to the anti-Blackness in our society, from police violence and blatant racism to inequitable access to health care. All this on top of the day-to-day adversity our Black communities face as they navigate the systems of oppression and inequity that are so deeply baked into our nation's DNA. With that in mind, as we celebrate and we point to successes for our students and our alumni alike, like our panelists, and countless other Black Titans who make it their mission to empower those in our community and talk about the connection between empowerment and resilience, we still have to remember one simple truth. The trait of empowerment should not need to be linked to resilience, and resilience should not be a prerequisite for success at Cal State Fullerton or anywhere in our country. Our Black students should not have to overcome the subterranean systems of oppression and privilege that are so deeply rooted in this country. Instead, we must continuously do more to eradicate these systems and to enhance equity for all Titans and all Americans so that resilience is a choice for our students, not a mandatory survival tactic. We can be confident that these tenets of DEI and social justice are a focus in our classrooms and in our communities. And while we will continuously focus on this movement toward change and feel like we're heading in the right direction, we have to acknowledge that there is still so much more to do to reach a day when all Titans see themselves in our educators, find themselves in our programs, recognize their cultures and histories in our curriculum, and believe in themselves and the actualization of their hopes and dreams. That day comes only when our Black communities are no longer required to be more resilient than the rest of their peers, and when empowerment is not attached to oppression or marginalization. I remain confident that together we can get there, and I am honored to do this work, share this journey, and once again celebrate Black History Month with all of you. I want to thank all of you again for joining us today for this important conversation and for your commitment to this journey. And I encourage each of our students listening to apply for the Black Scholarship Fund that we share with the Orange County Community Foundation. Thank you. Philip, you want to get us going?
All right. Thank you so much, President Virgie, and thank you for the introductions to everybody. Before I introduce our moderator, I just wanted to make a note that one of our panelists, Troy, he may or may not be joining us. We're trying to get him in right now, but just so you know, Dr. Jackson Preston, that panelist will probably be getting in. And just for all the participants, you did hear a correct introduction. President Virgie just recorded those remarks yesterday, and we heard from Troy this morning that there was some delays in his schedule. So having said that note, I would like to introduce Dr. Portia Jackson Preston. She is an associate professor in public health and has agreed to be our moderator today. And I know that she will lead the panelists through I think, an empowering dialogue this morning and work into our afternoon. And so I will go ahead and turn the reins over to her and see you at the end. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for the honor of extending this opportunity to me. More than anything, I'm really excited to engage with a dynamic panel of alum from our university, as well as people who are making meaningful impact to advance Black empowerment in Orange County and around the world. So I'm going to briefly reintroduce, I know you just heard everyone's introductions, but I'm going to ask them to turn their cameras on so that now you can see them in real time as I reintroduce them. So when I say your name, please turn on your camera and just do a quick wave so that everyone can see you. Okay, I'm going to start with Najati Burrow. He's an alum of the class of 15, principal design engineer for Rick Engineering, DJ, and student mentor. Welcome, Najati. And you're going to want to unmute.
Oh, sorry, thank you for inviting me, but it's Najati.
Thank you for the correction, Najati. I appreciate that.
No
So
problem.
now I'd like to introduce Diamond Byrd, who is an alum of the class of 20. She is the first Black female executive vice president of Associated Students Incorporated. She's also a Master's of Social Work candidate at Cal State Long Beach, Army veteran, first generation college student, and community advocate. Welcome, Diamond.
Thank you so much for the greeting, and I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. And lastly, but not least, I would like to introduce Daisha McDaniel, who is an alum of the class of 2013 and is currently the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategic Programs Advisor for a Diversity Vertical at Activision Blizzard. Welcome, Daisha.
Hello, thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be a part of this very fruitful and powerful panel.
Thank you so much. So as we begin our discussion, I just want to remind audience members that you are welcome to submit questions at any point throughout the program. We are going to be reserving time at the end for questions and answers. You can submit your questions by using the Zoom question and answer feature. To my panelists, I would like to start with asking you, and I hope you've had some time to prepare, how would you define empowerment in one sentence? And I want to start with Najati. Am I saying your name correctly?
Oh, it's like
Correctly or wrong?
it's like you're almost there. It's just like kind of like space, like Najati.
Najati. Thank you, Najati. Najati, would you like to start us off?
Yes, I would define. Sorry, I would define empowerment as kind of like giving power to, or maybe giving control to maybe an individual or a group that allows them to have control over their own say-so, their own plans, their own destiny. Beautiful.
Thank you so much for that. Diamond, would you like to offer your sentence of what empowerment means to you?
Yes. I would say I'll go ahead and define Black empowerment specifically. I think that Black empowerment is not just demonstrating Black excellence, but also making sure that Black individuals succeed you. It's making sure that you're reaching your hands out and making sure that other people step in your place. I believe that Black empowerment is making sure that even though you're the first, you may not be the last. And so, like Najati said, making sure that you're giving power to other people.
Beautiful. Thank you for that, Diamond. Daisha?
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, I definitely think it's making sure that you're setting somebody or a community up for success. And through doing that, you have to make sure that they have the proper tools and resources in order to do that, but also those individuals have to be willing to do that. So I can empower a community, but they too have to empower themselves and want to take that first step forward.
Beautifully said. So returning to Najati, and if I'm mispronouncing your name, I promise it's nerves, not intention. Correct me as many times as you need it, okay?
You got it that time.
I did? Okay. Would you like to discuss one experience from your own life or historical events that has most influenced your vision for empowerment? And just to be clear, you have up to 2 minutes for this response. You take a little bit more time.
Okay. I'll try to not be too long-winded. I would say the experience that definitely changed my vision on empowerment was actually attending the NSBE conference in Tennessee around 2013. Before getting into really getting into NSBE, a lot of things I did just to kind of skate by on passing in this career, like this high-paying career. But when I saw a bunch of Black faces and a bunch of Black people in one area, all of them STEM majors, all of them intellectual, all of them in suits, it made me look at my role differently as far as being a leader, which would lead me to become president of NSBE the following year in 2014.
That's beautiful. And as someone who was a member of NSBE all throughout college and spoke at NSBE later, I can affirm being a member of 6 House, Region 6 on the West Coast, the incredible opportunities, being in that crowd of 10,000 people. It's just, you're right. It generates your soul, it regenerates you. So thank you for sharing. Diamond, would you like to share next one experience from your life or historical events that has most influenced your vision for empowerment?
Yeah, I would say, so I graduated from Fullerton spring 2020. And of course, that's when COVID hit. I couldn't believe it. Like, finally, I was about to graduate and COVID hit. And then it was the murder of George Floyd over the summertime. And a lot of my work at Fullerton and a lot of my community involves around the veteran community. Sorry, my camera will probably do that often, but a lot of my work revolved around the veteran community. And I think that specific summer, I really took a deep dive on wow, what does it really mean to be Black in America? And I was post-graduated, it was just so many intersecting identities that I had to reprocess within myself. And so I took that further, and a lot of my my research and a lot of my papers and my master's program started to all be around, it shifted from veteran community to all of Black community. And I remember specifically when the Black Ukrainians were being left at the border, I remember my professor had showed it to us in class one Wednesday evening, and I remember sitting there in class and I'm just like, wow, wherever we are, it doesn't matter where we are in this world, we're always facing this oppression, we're always facing this marginalization and all these things. And that week was the week of elections for ASI. And I remember specifically someone had came to me and was like, you should run for president. And I was like, you should on my face, because I really want to chill. My last semester, my last year of grad school, I just want to chill. I just want to coast. I'm tired of working hard, And so the main experience, the main historical event was I guess it's connecting from George Floyd to Black Ukrainians being left at the border, and that's what made me run. It influenced my vision and influenced my my purpose, really, and why I took on this position as running for ASI Executive Vice President. So yeah, that was really big for me.
Well, thank you, first of all, for affirming that our students and alumni really do have a global perspective. You walked us through what it means to look beyond your experience as a woman, as a veteran, as a Black woman in America, to connecting to the diasporic effects and some of the similar challenges we face. So thank you for that. Daisha, same question. How would one experience from your life or a historical event, which one has most influenced your vision for empowerment?
Yeah, I would probably going to take a very opposite approach of everybody else. But the first thing that came to mind when I heard this question was just how I felt the need to empower myself in order so that I could speak up for other people in my community. So when I graduated from Cal State Fullerton, it was in 2013, and I immediately entered into corporate America. The saying, Black don't crack. So of course, when I went and stepped into corporate America and in those business rooms, and I would try and speak on certain things that I was well informed of, I typically got overlooked because they just saw a baby face. And so they're like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She doesn't know what she's doing. Or the people who did realize, oh, she might be onto something, would take my work and be like, oh yeah, I'll pass it forward, and then take credit for it. So I experienced that a lot in my first few years of entering into the workforce, until finally I was like, okay, what can I do in order to elevate myself and demand more respect in the room? And it might not be the right approach, but it was the approach that I took. I decided to go back and get my master's, because people tend to respect you a little bit more when you have, you know, extra titles and words, letters behind your name. So once they found out that, you know, I had my MBA, they started taking me a lot more seriously, because they're like, okay, you know, in order to get that degree, you kind of have to know what you're talking about a little bit more than what we gave you credit for. And it's unfortunate that as a Black woman, I felt like I had to elevate myself in order for me to be more taken more seriously in the room with white male employees, was for me to be like, well, I have my master's as well, and I can talk and bring things to the table as well. But in order for me to be heard, I had to do that. Granted, I didn't do it just because of that. I did want to pursue another degree, but that also fueled it a lot. And now I'm in a position to where I have a seat at the table, and in my current role in diversity and inclusion, I'm allowed to create additional seats for other people like me who are getting started in their career.
I want to thank you for your response. First of all, I think the value of this conversation, having all of us speaking in a public forum like this, people are getting insight into questions they might be too nervous to ask us sometimes. And to have you talk about how the pursuit of Black excellence can be a problematic phenomenon, the fact that we have to do this in the first place when you had worthiness from day one, how do we value that while encouraging your development without rendering you invisible?
Yep.
So I'm grateful to the three of you for addressing this topic in different ways. It really helps to shut down this idea that there's one major experience or definition of Black empowerment. So in continuing our conversation, and I'm going to ask each of you just to speak when you would like to. So if you're really excited to take on a question, or if you want to think about it for a moment, I'm going to give you a little bit more freedom. The next question really has to do with how you make Black empowerment a personal experience for yourself. So Black empowerment doesn't have to be a grand spectacle. What is a small way that you can achieve empowerment in your daily life?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think, like you said, it doesn't have to be a big thing. So for me, particularly for myself, I think really listening to my body and those context clues. So like if I am, again, mentioning that I work with diversity and inclusion, the things that you hear, like it's very needed, but it can be very challenging at times, especially when you're so passionate about like, why is there even a job for me right now in this field where I have to convince other people to do the right thing and to be a decent human being. So at times, some of the things that you hear can be frustrating, but you also have to take breaths and work on yourself and listen to your body too, because sometimes people really aren't aware of their actions and how it's affecting other people because of the environments that they were raised in or what they know to be true. So you kind of have to break down those barriers, but at the same time, it can be frustrating because you do get those questions like, being the only is lonely. And yes, it can be, but if they're genuinely coming to you and asking you a question, just make sure that you're telling them like, you know, I am speaking on behalf of myself, not for every Black woman in the world. But sometimes they need to be pushed in the right direction so that they can start to have that hunger and things like that. So for me, I do take breaks throughout the day. Sometimes I'm like, I just need to work out. I need to meditate for a little bit. I need to go for a walk and get some fresh air. Definitely have those moments where it's just like, I've given all that I could give today. I need to block my calendar out now, because if I feel as beat down as I am right now, I can't continue to do the good work that I want to do, because now I'm answering instead of a place of patience and kindness, it's frustration. So being sure to check myself and pouring back into my cup as I'm continually pouring into others.
Thank you so much for your answer. And I just want to recap the main takeaways. You talked about the importance of having boundaries and staying connected to your body, understanding that even when people have good intentions and what they say, the impact on you can take a toll, and being able to care for yourself without trying to suppress or bury what has been said. Thank you so much for sharing that. I would like to take a moment to introduce Troy Harrison, who was able to join us. And just to reintroduce Troy to everyone, he is a board member and ambassador for the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and LH Global Consulting. Troy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I apologize. I was
No worries.
I was on my computer and I actually saw the whole presentation from the president. So I thought I was in. Next thing you know, it wouldn't let me talk, and I'm trying to go.
Not a problem. I'm going to give you an opportunity to address the same questions everyone else has. So in one sentence, how would you define Black empowerment?
I would say it's when you can help initiate someone to do better and move forward.
Beautiful. Very well said. And so I also asked people, is there one experience from your life or historical event that most influenced your vision for empowerment?
I would say, it's going to sound cliche maybe because I didn't get to hear the other parts, is my father. You know, my dad is he was from the South. He's passed away, but he was joined the military, kind of did that old school thing and pushed me to be the best that I could be, you know, for myself, for when I was able to have a family, and not alone just for myself, but also for being a Black man in America.
Well, I'm actually grateful that you addressed it from that perspective, because it does give our audience insight into how our personal relationships have shaped us. So that's actually a wonderful addition. So we're now talking about the third question, and I'm allowing everyone to go in the order they would choose. So if you need a moment to think about it, you can, but I'm going to read the question again. Black empowerment doesn't have to be a grand spectacle. What is one small way that you can achieve empowerment in your daily life?
Is it my turn or is that for someone?
It's anyone's turn. Anyone can go.
I'll wait
And-
since I was late. Since I was late, I'll let everyone else go.
Okay, that sounds good.
I was gonna say I can add to the question. I was gonna say for the question, I would say the people around me, you know, the people I constantly talk to, whether it's friends or family, help me to achieve empowerment, where I could find myself sometimes second guessing my ideas, second guessing my plans. Usually when I express my ideas to friends or family, they're either 100% behind me, or they'll tell me what I can do better to fix the problem or fix the plan. So I think the people around you, who you keep around you, can encourage you daily, or how much you ever so you talk to them, to feel empowered.
I think that's a wonderful answer. You're really talking about the importance of social support, and perhaps also hinting at the danger of isolating ourselves. So thank you for that.
I can go ahead and hop in as well. I think, and this is something that we talked about yesterday here at Cal State Long Beach in the mixer that we had yesterday evening. I think small acts of empowering is just smiling and acknowledging another person. It's so rare. In most of my classes and throughout my 3-year program, I've been the only Black person in my class, the only Black woman in my class. And so and then as just walking on campus, I'm very involved on campus, and so you see pockets, or you rarely see Black people. And so for me, it's getting over my rejection and saying hi, even though that person might walk right past me and not say anything. At least it's I tried. And I think for the people who do respond, it's we're feeling the same thing, oh wow, someone spoke to me. And so I think those small things of just acknowledging, the little Black head nod, it's just I see you, you see me. I even try to be a little extra and throw some I like your braids, or I like your outfit. benefit or things like that, because it feels so good to feel seen. It feels so good to acknowledge. And so I think that that's a really big thing, or something small that means so much. And I also think of service. I think that we can use our gifts and the things that we do have in a very small way to give into others. And so for me, I'm really big on scholarships. I have no student loans. I'm so happy about it. And so I'm really big on scholarships. And so what I did this past year was, I was actually instructed to me, it was something that one of my mentors told me to do at Fullerton, was like, make a scholarship workshop. And I'm like, nobody gonna listen to me, like, I don't know if I want to do this. And I started like just doing it over summer. Like, what would I even say? And I just basically just created a workshop based off of how I applied for my scholarships and how I worded and what values and things I put in there and how I try to use my own experiences to tell my story. And I hosted 4 last semester, and I just hosted 1 last week, and I have another one coming up in March. And it's incredible, like, to receive messages like, hey, Diamond, I attended your workshop and I applied for the scholarship and I got it. And like, that itself is so empowering for people to be like, I'm applying for it. And I told them, like, this is my last semester, so I can't apply. So don't let me take all your money. I will happily take all the money, but I want to give to people. So again, just using the gifts, using things I already know I already have, that's already within me and inside me, to give to others in a very small way that can take them a long way.
That was a beautiful answer. And just to recap, you spoke to 2 things. One is this importance of seeing each other so that we feel visible and appreciated and valued in these campus settings. And then the second one is using your resources and your experiences to help others succeed. Thank you so much for sharing that. Troy, would you like to add your response?
I want to piggyback off the gentleman who went first. I totally agree from your social circle. I've been in a group of friends, all of color, and all black, mixed black or all black, where we're in different genres of in the workforce, but we've been able to bounce our experiences off each other. I've been in the staffing industry for 25 plus years. One's been in management for 25 years. One's been in engineering. And let's just say STEM. We learned that, even though my genre or my age group is a little bit higher than the folks on the panel, I've been able to bridge the gap. And kind of what the young lady was saying is to kind of give back that acknowledgement in the workforce when you see someone, because you know what it's taken to get there. And it's been a long road, or a road that some folks aren't willing to travel. And when you get there, even if it's from the bottom floor to being in the mailroom, if you're an executive, to get into the corporate workforce these days, it's nice to see one who looks like you in that workforce.
Beautiful. So taking it back from what you're saying, remembering that wherever you stand, there's someone that you can help, someone that's looking up to you. So keeping that flow going. And the reason I'm pausing after each person, you all are speaking beautifully. I want to make sure that our audience takes a moment to challenge themselves as they're inspired by you, that they don't just sit there and go, wow, these people are so incredible. I could never do that. But I want them to challenge themselves and say, okay, what would that look like for me? So we have 3 more questions, and then we're going to be giving the audience time to engage with each of you. So I'm going to be reminding you just to keep your remarks to 2 minutes. You all are fascinating, and I could talk to you all day long. So you're doing an incredible job. My next question is my favorite, because I spend a lot of time working with different communities to address burnout. So here's the question. What do you do to sustain your contributions to Black empowerment and healing practices or taking action in your community? Just to provide a few examples. And I'll read it again. What do you do to sustain your contributions to Black empowerment and avoid burnout?
I'll go first. If there's a stigma in the Black community of mental health, that getting help, you're some form, either you're weak or you can't handle it. We've always been told to suck it up, push through it. Do what you got to do to make it happen. And over the years, I've learned through being able to talk someone to get the pressure off my day-to-day, I don't want to say surroundings, but my day-to-day living, that I can speak to someone that's not in my family, to speak openly and not be judged, is a huge relief, physically and mentally. which allows me to have the energy to sustain, to go back into the community to help Black empowerment. My wife is a Hispanic, so my kids are mixed Black and Mexican. You guys know, I think you may have reached, I'm on the board of directors at the Orange County Hispanic Chamber. So it allows me to give a perspective there, but also I'm thinking for the future of my children. But I would say the main thing is allowing yourself to not feel trapped where you can't speak to someone or be judged because you allowed yourself to get help from a mental aspect.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Troy. That's a wonderful answer.
Oh, I guess I can answer this. I want to say one thing that I've learned through working in probably a demanding field is taking a pause on yourself and being able to basically live in the moment. And by what I say that is, I'm like being in the STEM field, I'm always trying to reach the next level. And that has caused a lot of stress and, as you say, burnout, where I have learned to, like, okay, at some point I need to enjoy the fruits of my labor. So whether that means going out with friends, whether that means taking a vacation, relaxing, but at some point I need to enjoy the amount of work I've done instead of always going right back into work mode.
Well said. Thank you.
I would say all of those things, but also being more intentional of creating boundaries and being okay with saying no or pushing back to certain things, which has been a challenge for me in recent days because, like, especially with work, I know I can do certain things, but I'm getting to the point where it's like, I don't need to do certain things. Like, just because I am capable of doing this, even if it's not a part of my job description and somebody might be like, oh, it's a quick favor. It's like, yeah, it's a favor this time, but then it becomes you always coming back to me. It's not just a one-time thing. So making sure that you're putting those healthy boundaries in place, but also not being afraid to ask for help when you need it, which was another thing that, pride can get in the way of certain things. And it's like, I don't want people to think that I can't do it or I'm not capable, and being okay with being like, okay, I can do it. However, I just don't have the bandwidth to do it. So instead of me trying to burn myself out on trying to do all of the things and manipulate time, it's okay to be honest and upfront and say, hey, I need some help. Like, I can't do it all. I can't be at all the things all of the time. Even though I want to be there, I physically can't.
Thank you so much for that.
Wow, I should have had this conversation with Daisha a couple of weeks ago because wow, everything that she's saying. And when once you ask this question, I'm like processing because I'm very much so still working on it. Like, this is extremely hard for me being in ASI, I have like a 2-part internship. I am a grad school student, so it's like going a full day and then going to classes in the evening time. And then I live on campus in the Black Pan-African Scholar House. So it's literally like, I love that it's blackity, black, all, most times of my life. But at the same time, it's like so many meetings, so many questions, so much on me. And I want to be there for everyone. I want to do everything. I want to show up for everyone. But what I had to start doing just this past 2 weeks is being like, instead of me, because someone emails me, I'll put you on my schedule that week. And I'm like, Diamond, do you really need to meet with, do you really need to add something to your schedule this week? It's okay to push it a week. It's okay to push it 2 weeks if you need to. It's okay to say, hey, I don't, my mom tells me all the time, stop saying yes, say I will see, because you've still stop overcommitting. So I think that's a big thing for me is I'm working on setting boundaries. I'm working on, the things that, like, at the end of the day, sitting with myself and just like Daisha said, did I do enough today? Okay, I did. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to sit and I'm going to watch the Boondocks and I'm going to enjoy my night. And that's it. You know, just doing something that very much so makes me feel like I'm a kid again. I get to spend time with myself and I don't have to be in all these different spaces all the time. And so I'm working on that. And so I'm really glad that you asked this question. I hope that people take these really good things back, because that self-care is important. That time to yourself, to go back and connect with your community and all those things are so important and are so needed to avoid burnout.
You all have no idea how proud I am listening to each of you. You really have no idea. Thank you for demystifying this idea that we have to be doing it all the time, and that we have to always say yes, and that we have to always make it work. What you're saying isn't easy, and it takes a lot of resistance to override the narratives that you were introduced to. So thank you for that. My next question, I know that there are people that are watching us today that are not members of the Black community. And so often people feel immobilized because they don't really know what they can do without it being perceived as harm. And so the intention of the next question is to get insight into what actually is helpful. What is one meaningful example where someone who is not a part of the Black community took concrete action to support Black empowerment? This can be an example from your life, something you've seen in society.
I can answer that. As stated, you know, I was lucky enough to play football in college, and you know, before I had children, I've always loved helping people and kids. And someone who is not Black that I actually played college football with became a youth football coach, and he's like, Troy, would you be interested in helping these kids? There's tons of Black kids, Mexican kids. It was a diverse community. And me giving back coaching and finding something that I love to do, but it didn't feel like I was doing work, because I was allowing myself to help children from all communities, but also let them see that. I guess the main point for me out of that is they got to see someone of color who was not a rapper, who didn't go professional sports, who was able to work in the workforce and still be successful, and was donating their time to help the kids to be successful. You know, sports is just a microcosm of life, and it's never really about sports. It's about teaching them long-term goals.
So to clarify, the person's action to support Black empowerment was giving you the opportunity.
Absolutely, yes, because I had tried several times, and someone's like, Troy, I know you love kids, and this is something you can do. And he's like, I got you. And we're friends to this day. You know, we like I said, we met in college, and I parlayed that into coaching high school and doing things that I never would have thought I've done with coaching if it wouldn't have been for him.
Thank you for that.
I would say to piggyback off of that, when people can advocate for you in rooms that you're not privy to or that you're not in, just having certain things come to fruition as far as job opportunities of like, hey, I heard about you through this person and they recommended you for this project or said I should connect with you on X, Y, and Z. I think that goes a long way. But I do want to mention, because this too can come into play, there's a fine line between advocating for somebody of another race and gender and putting your work on them. So just make sure that you're careful with teetering that line, because you don't want it to come from an impure or insensitive place where your intentions aren't good. But advocating for somebody, I think it goes a long way, or just giving them props where props are due. So if I were to do a presentation and somebody were to like reinforce like, oh, wow, I support you, I stand behind you, that was great. It takes them nothing and it goes a long way, especially if they hold more power in that room than I do at the moment. It'll make those in the room take what I did more seriously and into consideration.
So I want to circle back to your caution, because I think you said something important. Make sure when you are advocating for people that what you're advocating for is in line with what they want for themselves. I have definitely seen opportunities be presented to students, and I say, well, is that something you even want for yourself? Or has this person decided that you should be the Black person that does this? So thank you so much for saying that. Who would like to follow?
Just going to add, So in my field of work, in my offices, I'm usually the only Black person. So one thing with my previous employer, they wanted to change that and express to me, or how could they change, basically, who do I know can come work for us? Who do you have a good, because they knew I was in NSB, and they actually heard they actually tried to hire 2 people I recommended for them. The 2 people ended up getting jobs elsewhere, but they actually were like, oh, we have the paperwork for this person. And another time they sent me, I think, to Cal Poly Pomona to do the recruiting, I guess, for the company. And they ended up hiring a person that I recommended. So I think them just trusting my voice and them actually listening to what I had to say in a way that influences the company was big to me.
Thank you.
I will speak about the power of professors and just the power of being in the classroom. I feel like I had a lot of support when I was at Fullerton, and it carried on into the support that I received at Long Beach. Like I said, I worked at the Veterans Center, so there were a lot of supporters there at the Veterans Center, but also, like I said, in the classroom. So I had a professor, a human sciences professor, or human services, sorry, Candace Trevino. And I remember her, she recommended a job for me at that time, and I ended up working in that job, in that field post-pandemic or during the pandemic. I remember getting to Long Beach, and it was another professor that I ended up taking a professor, Kirsten Muster, and she was like, a professor told me to look out for you. And it was weird because I was like my second year in, and she was like, yeah, Candace Trevino. And I'm like, and I just got so elated because I was just like, she's so awesome. She told me about this, and we did a lot of stuff revolving around child welfare and things like that. It was so much I learned and was passionate about. And so this professor at Long Beach then went on to always send me different opportunities about scholarships, about just any recommendations she had. She'll be like, hey, and even in the last 2 weeks, I don't know if you saw this, but just want to put this on your radar. And it's just so incredible. And they're both white, they're both white women. And so for me, it's just that's empowering for me to see that there are other people who, are rooting for you, who do support you, and who just want to help you get to the next level and the next step, because in our experiences, we're shown just the opposite. And so I think that was really important, them being letters of recommendation, scholarships, and just opportunities. Even Candace was like, I see that you're doing Titan Table Talk, so I really hope that she gets to see this. But again, just professors, just the power of professors, they're so powerful, and it's really incredible to be supported by them.
Well, just in case she isn't here, if someone's listening and they know her, go tell her. And thank you so much for giving such tangible feedback on what are concrete actions people can take. So where we are now, we have 10 minutes remaining, and we have 2 questions, which means we have half the time for these last 2 questions, okay? I'm gonna ask you to hold your comments to 1 minute. So take a moment before you speak. One thing I wanna normalize in doing panels is that we don't have to rush to the mic. You all are giving such wonderful, careful answers, and you deserve your time in the spotlight. So just take your time, okay? But also be concise. Okay, so my next question. Oh, you know what? Actually, we do have plenty of time. There is 1 question remaining. I was right on time. What is one action step today's participants can take before the end of Black History Month to advance Black empowerment and keep it going year round? So this is our last question. We have time. I was mistaken.
I guess I'll take you first. I'll say one thing we probably take for granted is just encouragement and being kind. Basically, if you see someone is on the right path, someone friend, a colleague, someone they're working at something, letting them know that you see what they're doing, and that oh, this is what you're doing. I love what you're doing. I love the work that you're putting in. It's just being encouraging can make someone want to go 10 times harder. because now it's like, okay, I'm on the right path. Other people see what I'm doing. And then even just to take it a little step further is just supporting, Black businesses, supporting like a lot of my friends, they own shirts, they own some kind of goods, and I'll even if I just wear it as a pajama shirt, I'll buy the shirt and just wear it around and just support any business that they have.
Beautiful. Thank you for that.
Can you say the question one more time?
Sure
Sorry.
can. What is one action step today's participants can take before the end of Black History Month to advance in Black empowerment and keep it going year-round?
You can talk, Diamond. I saw you come off of mute. I'm gonna just
I was
sit with
like,
it.
I don't
Nah,
want
I'm just gonna sit with it for a little bit.
And that's okay. You both can sit with it.
Ladies first.
I will say, because I'm just such a lifelong learner and I feel like knowledge is such power, I would say educate yourself. And that can be for Black people and non-Black people. I'm still learning Black history. I feel like a lot of us are still learning our own history. But I feel like it's so much knowledge and like educating yourself about Black history, about Black oppression, and about Black empowerment and what that can mean to different people with different identities. But I think it just starts there with just knowing, just getting the knowledge to do those things first, starting somewhere.
So educating yourself. Thank you.
Still ladies first.
No pressure. I agree with what everybody is saying. I think to answer it in another approach from another angle, I would say just check in on people and see how they're doing. So my friends and I, we do this thing where we'll say like, instead of like, they'll say, how are you? You might get the cliche like, oh, I'm good, everything is good. We'll preface it like just doing a weather check. How are you? Like, how are you really right now? I haven't heard from you right now, like in a while. How are you really doing? And we'll take time out to like step back and be like, okay, here's what I'm doing. Here's what's going on. I think in a lot of situations and circumstances, there's a lot of pressure that's put on us to advance not only ourselves, but our communities. And a lot of us may be either first generation or helping our families, contributing in some way. So we're doing all of this work to progress and advance ourselves in our professions. But then a lot of us are that point person for our families as well. So having people that you can actually have those check-ins with to pour back into you, allow people to pour back into you. Don't be too prideful of certain things if you actually need help. But I think that can go a long way, just asking somebody, how are you really, and giving them your undivided attention.
Deja, I'm so appreciative of how you address the layers. There's such an air sometimes in the professional world among Black professionals. Hey, how are you doing? Everything's good. Even if we know we're falling apart, we're just so conditioned. So thank you for introducing a way. And I just want to encourage people to know the difference between getting bombarded by everybody asking you how you're doing to the point where you don't want to talk to anybody. Understand and make sure that there's trust there, that that person feels safe telling you how they really are, and respect if they don't. So thank you for that.
And I'm going to piggyback off something the gentleman said earlier is, in the business world and sports, it's celebrate the small wins, as and even if it's, like you said, an acknowledgement or not necessarily taking time for yourself, but to make sure that you take time to celebrate your small wins, because there's so much on our plates. Like the young lady was saying, and I use myself as an example, to be the head of the household, to be a Black man, to be the provider, to do the things, and all these things, like also all the things that you have to do, celebrate what you've done, and even on the microcosms and the small pieces of it. And then as far as for someone to moving forward, be open to different points of views, because I think we get so caught up in what we're doing and how we do it and what our culture does. There's so much we can do as if we are open to other perspectives, but still we can bring it back to our own and make it our own, would be something that I would definitely suggest.
Thank you for that. Diamond, did you want to add anything?
No, I had just talked about educating yourself.
did. I'm so sorry. So everyone, I think, has gotten through your questions. We actually have a little more time before we go to Q&A. So I want to just one question, and I spend a lot of time in the AARC with our current students, so I know this would be a great one for them. Let's see. What advice would you give to current students or younger people who will come after you? And for time reference, we have 4 minutes. So this is just a brief, if you could say one thing to a student who's watching today, reflecting on what it was like to be in their shoes, what would you say to them from your perspective now?
I like to go just because of what I do for a living. I work in the staffing industry, so I'm constantly helping people and with job opportunities and things of that nature. And the one thing I would say is I think we got bogged down is to have different versions of your resume. I know I'm taking it from a business aspect, because you may major in one thing and end up doing something later in your career that has nothing to do with what you went from an educational background. So I've always talked to folks is like, have a management resume, have a sales resume, have a customer service resume, because like some of the young ladies had spoken earlier, you may get referred by somewhere in the background that you don't know. You may have that experience, but since you didn't choose to put that on the resume because it wasn't a specific job, have a different version of your resumes that can definitely help you, especially coming out of school, because we go to school and I want to jump in this field. You may have to take a different path to get there.
Okay, wonderful. So we have 2 minutes left. I'm going to ask
Sorry
them.
about taking up that much time
No,
on that.
no, it's okay. What you said is really critical. I want to make sure I give time to our audience, but for each of the panelists who remain, in about 30 seconds, what is one piece of advice you would give to a current student?
I would say just know your why. Like, why are you going after something? Just so you can have that be your North Star. Because there will be times where you're like, okay, why do I really want this job? Is it passion or is it because of the money? So just know your why and what's driving your choices.
Okay, thank you for that.
Oh, Demi, you could go first. I saw you. You could.
Really quickly, I'll just say, like, search for resources. Like, there's things out there for you. There's so many benefits and so many things that are needed to get through school. Like, being first generation is incredibly difficult, but it's manageable, it's attainable, and we can do it. And so I feel like just access the resources that are available to you, whether it's food resources, housing resources, and like Daisha said, putting that pride aside to get what you need is so important. So yeah, go for the resources, take it all the scholarship money, all the financial aid, get it all.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I would say expand your network. I know this is going to sound cliche, but it's not, of course, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I got my first job through NSBE. So it's just like, my advice would be like, take the time to actually talk to people, put yourself in a position to where you're talking to people within your career goals.
Beautiful. Well, I want to say thank you to all of you. You did such a phenomenal job. I'm really grateful that I was able to sit here and listen to your perspectives. I'm excited to get into this question and answer period, because I imagine the people who are watching, there are questions they would like to ask you directly. So I'm going to challenge people to, if there's anything you're curious about, please go ahead and enter your questions into the chat. And we're going to start with the first one. What are some small wins that you have celebrated recently? And anyone can answer this. But remember, small, so nothing's too small, okay?
A small win. I think I have mentioned to somebody that I wanted to do a better job of like presenting and stuff like that, just in passing. And next week I'm going to host something for our organization at a HBCU. So I'm like, it's a small win. Like, I wasn't expecting it. They just randomly messaged me like, hey, I know this is last minute, but I'm like, heck yeah, I'll do it. Like, sure.
I want to challenge your definition of small, because that sounds like a huge.
I mean, the
I was like,
small
man, you
win
must
was
got it going on.
casually saying it in passing. That was the small win. And then it just blowing up into proportion and being like, okay, I was thinking something on a smaller scale, but I'll do it.
So your small win became a bigger win.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for
My
sharing.
small win was vocalizing something and somebody else going and, planting the seed and making something out of it.
And might I also say that you're presenting today, so words have power, don't they? That's great. Anyone else want to offer perspective on that one? A small win?
I would say my diet. My diet has kind of I've been doing like a low carb, low calorie diet, and it has actually improved my work ethic. I don't find myself as tired going into work. Usually I need to drink tea or take a 5-hour energy, and I haven't had to do that since I started my diet.
Okay, so caring for yourself is your small win. And I love that the perspective that all of you were sharing, none of these wins are small, but they start with a small action, don't they? So would anyone else like to speak to that before I move on to the next question?
I can say one. I have real quick, I have two. One is just choosing sleep, like really checking in with myself and just being like, do I need to go in right now? No, I can do this from home. Okay, cool. I'm going to choose to do it from home, or I'm going to choose to sleep and reschedule a meeting or things like that, depending on how I feel. So not forcing myself to do something that I don't feel like I'm not 100% mentally committed to, because I want to be able to, I love being big and energy and all these things, and so yeah, it's a small win for me when I can be like, wow, I feel rested and now I can give all of myself. And then my other one was the scholarship workshop that I hosted last week. It turned out really, really great. It was great engagement, and I'm just really excited to host another one going forward.
That's wonderful. And I just want to let you know, Diamond, that Kristen's staying in our faculty at our campus is going to send Candace a note about the shout out. So
yay, how nice. So sweet.
And I have a few questions loading up, but Troy, did you want to share a small one?
I would say a small was like, you know what, I got a call from one of my best friends today, just kind of back to some of the things, just to check and see how I was doing. Okay. And because we get caught up in our lives, you don't get to call people, and he was on my mind, but he actually called me, and it was good to have a conversation with him this morning, actually, before the call, before I was having technical difficulties.
That's great. Well, I love that even just someone checking on you was a win. So now, of course, guys, we have all the questions and not much time. So I'm going to ask for one person to respond to each, kind of a hot seat response. Okay, I'm going to go in order. So the first one, can someone tell me, how do you celebrate Black History Month?
If you don't mind, I'll go. I actually, my son is part of the 100 Black Men of OC. He's 14 years old, and we participated in the parade. It was over in Anaheim, and he marched in the parade, and it was a huge thing for our family. For him being new to that group, over about 2 months groups, and something that he wanted to do, and it was a great experience for all of us.
And I want to echo that, because sometimes we say we're celebrating, but we're always just talking about a lot of trauma. So anything we can do that's going to bring joy, I think, is really healing. So the next question, actually, there's a comment I'll read. Andrea Hyde just wants to thank all of you for your time and participation. And they say, I'm feeling inspired to put myself forward more and not just grab a seat at the table, but to also speak up when I'm there. So I just want to give your flowers back to all of you. The next one is, someone says, have you ever felt guilty for taking a mental health day from work or school? How have or would you get over that feeling?
Let me take this one. Look, do not feel any type of guilty. Them people still gonna be there. That work still gonna be there. Everything is still gonna be there. Nothing is gonna burn down. And this is something I had to make myself do, again, because I live on campus. I'm in my room right now. I was like, should I go in? I said, no, I shouldn't. I should do this meeting from my room where I'm comfortable, where I'm calm, cool, and collected, where I ain't gotta have everybody knocking on my door. Like, you have to know, and I think that came with knowing my worth and being like, you deserve this. So if that's the way you have to hype yourself up, be like, you deserve this day off. I started to take one day off a month at least, and that's to either get my hair done or just relax. I did both. So there's my answer.
Thank you so much for that. So here's our next question. How can non-Black folks help address problematic moments and take some pressure off of Black folks having to also always address these issues without seemingly speaking over them? I'm going to read it again to give you guys some time to think about it, okay? How can non-Black folks help address problematic moments and take some pressure off of Black folks having to always address these issues without seemingly speaking over them?
I'll do a quick one real quick, so I'll let someone else go. I would, and I've learned this over time. It's like, listen to the message and not the tone.
I would say too, probably just be well educated on the topic or know what's going on to be able to recommend or suggest different resources that they can tap into. And it doesn't have to come from an ill will place when you are saying it. Just be like, hey, why don't you read up on X, Y, and Z, or you can tune into ... to learn a little bit more about the topic.
One thing I like to offer also for this person, because I think they're talking about a moment in which they want to say something, but they don't want to seem like they're being assuming. It might be helpful to go up to that person and say, I'd like to be of support. Is there something that I can do? And I know sometimes we'll say, well, you should already know. They don't already know. So we have to be gracious in that response. But I think checking in before speaking might be helpful. That's the only way to make sure you're not speaking over. Thank you for that question. So to go on a lighter note, we're going to switch back and forth. Sometimes that's how life is, right? Is there anything that you read or watched recently that resonated with you?
I'll let them go because I can answer all of these.
You can answer. I don't. I'm having a hard time thinking of that one.
Troy?
Obviously I'm a big sports fan, and I how sports for, and I'll be very specific, for Black quarterbacks as well as white quarterbacks. And they've been having some very interesting things on the media in regards to how we are portrayed by doing the same thing, as ours is being selfish and someone else is being passionate. It's very, very interesting. And I could talk forever on that, so I'm going to kind of
thank
not
you
say too much, but just a little bit enough to give a perspective.
Thank you.
I'll add, it's not really recently, but I've had it as my phone, as the background on my phone screen. And it actually just became the theme of Black Grad, which I'm emceeing this year, which I'm really excited about. I know we going up this year. It is so exciting. But it's a beautiful day to be Black. And I think that's really incredible because, you know, there's so many things that we face, there's so many struggles, there's so many things, but there's so many successes, there's so many accomplishments, there's so many things to be proud of. And so I saw this little thing, and it was like this little TikTok of this little thing dancing, and it was like me waking up on Black History Month like every day, and it's like just getting up and dancing, like just celebrating the fact that like we're not, like, even though there's small strides, there's still strides that are happening. And so it's a beautiful day to be Black, and that inspired me.
I love that. So I'm going to move on to our next question in the interest of time. Anyone who likes to can answer. Who is someone that inspires you and why?
Yeah, I'll answer that question. I would say from a personal standpoint, my family, everybody in my family inspires me just to see, you know, I mean, Black people in general, the scraps that we're typically given and what we're able to make from out of them to make resources stretch and get in places of advancement, even though we're starting in the negatives to get there. So watching like my grandfather build the foundation and being the first generation in our family and passing it forward, that truly inspires me. And then from a professional standpoint, our chief diversity officer, I do not envy her job at all. Just to see her composure and poise with how she holds herself in rooms where, you know, sometimes things go in the right direction. And other times you can clearly see the frustration, but the fact that she keeps it together and remains professional in situations that would have broken a lot of us, it's very inspiring, and her being intentional of choosing to come back to continue to do the work that she's doing to help pass the torch forward.
Thank you for that. That's such a beautiful answer. So our next question, someone says, thank you all for this insightful dialogue. What more can the university do to increase Black student enrollment? And what more can the university do to support our current Black students?
For this question, I'm 3 years removed from Fullerton. However, like it's a really big thing at Cal State Long Beach as well, and we're really asking the same things. And as a student, I think to increase enrollment is for students to see other students. So when there's tours and things like that, like introducing them to Black spaces like the arts and other Black hubs that students find of support to them. And I feel like even the fact that they have the the scholarship opportunities for students, even high school students, like I thought that was incredible. The students, because a lot of times you think of like, oh, I have to wait until after, and then my grades come back and just this long process. So knowing that, hey, I can have some financial support will also increase it, because it is hard to financially like get yourself through college. And I say also like implementing, because this is something I want to bring up, like a Black I don't know if you have like a Black specific orientation or just like Black luncheon, just getting people together. I think that if you increase it within, it'll grow exterior as well.
That's profound. Thank you. Anyone else want to add to that? Okay, well, we have one moment left, and I'm just going to invite each of you to leave us with anything that you want to share with our community. And again, this can be just a 15-second. This is like the one thing that you want to share with us as you exit today's conversation. So it could be any of the questions that you didn't get to address, or something that you felt like I didn't ask.
I would say give yourself grace as you go through the ebbs and flows of life in your career, whatever industry that might be. Just give yourself grace. Don't let social media fool you for what timelines should look like. Everybody's path is different, so just give yourself grace.
Beautifully said. Thank you. Troy?
I would say in the workforce, when there's an opportunity for you to ask questions or to get help from leadership, don't be afraid to go ask for the help.
Perfect.
I would say, I just want to reiterate something I said earlier, was to be just a positive reinforcement for people. It worked for me when I was in school, and you don't know how much it can make someone feel welcome. It can make someone feel cared for, or it can make someone even work harder or do harder. Just like checking up and being like, how's class going? Oh, you go to class? Well, how's your homework? Just doing that even once a week can make a difference with somebody.
Thank you for saying that. And I just want to extend my gratitude to each of you. It was such an honor to be able to spend time with you today. And I hope you walk away from this experience knowing how valuable your perspective is. And as you navigate your challenges, I'm just going to reiterate what Daisha said, have grace for yourself, because what's unfolding might be something that really helps to encourage us all. Thank you all so much for taking the time to be here with us today. And I'm going to go ahead and give it back to Dr. Vasquez to close us out.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Dr. Jackson Preston, for your moderation today, and to all the panelists. I'm particularly inspired by everyone's motivation to have self-care and to have personal wellness in this journey so that none of us burn out. And I can definitely identify with that. And I'm sure the community can identify with those messages. Before we end today, I would like to introduce Dr. Kressler, who is an associate professor of special education at Cal State Fullerton and the current director of the newly formed Ujima Mentoring Program. The mentoring program aims to go beyond building mentoring relationships between Black students, faculty, staff, and alumni, but to build a tangible and visible community at and beyond CSUF. Major strengths of this inspiring program are its explicit commitment to anti-racist practices and the celebration of Black joy, empowerment, and community building at Cal State Fullerton. Thank you, Dr. Kressler, for joining us today. I'll turn it over to you for your remarks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me and giving me a few moments to talk about this wonderful program. This program was created in part to support the Black Student Union's leadership demand for more programming that supports Black students at Cal State Fullerton. With the leadership of Black Faculty Staff and Association, I was able to secure some funds to help bring some funding to the work that faculty and staff has already been doing. And so through the Scott Jewett Foundation, we were able to create this comprehensive mentoring program, which aims to build community and empower Black faculty, staff, and bring in Black alumni at Cal State Fullerton. So we know that Black folks at Cal State Fullerton are such a minority, with Black students making up only 2% of the population and faculty making up about 4.7% of the overall population. And so it's evident that being in this minority and having some negative experiences on campus, feeling like it's been pushed aside of it or ignored, creates pressure to kind of separate or assimilate. And so it's really important that, that we have space that we can come together to empower each other. Because when we're being pushed aside or ignored because of our small numbers, it makes us feel dehumanized and creates harm within the surrounding environment. And so we're trying to push against that, create a visible presence on campus with all the wonderful things that's happening already at Cal State Fullerton with the ARC and BSU, Black Faculty Staff Association, folks that are supporting Black people on campus. This is another way of us all coming together and being an empowering presence on campus. And so it's important for Black faculty, staff, and alumni and students to have supported spaces that rejects anti-Blackness and that is actively anti-racist. And so this space is one of those places that I'm hoping that we can push at Cal State Fullerton and have support. It fosters Black joy, empowerment, and community engagement, what we've been talking about today. And so that the Black community can come together and be their full selves at Cal State Fullerton. So the goal of the UGMA mentoring program I hope is to that folks are inspired by the goals of the UGMA mentoring program, and that folks in the community will join us, that folks on this panel, alumni, will join us to help support bringing empowering anti-racist Black joy on campus at Cal State Fullerton. So thank you so much for letting me talk about it. Hopefully folks can contact me and learn more about the program and what we're doing this semester to support Black students, faculty, staff, and bring in Black alumni. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Kressler. And we wish you all the luck with the UGMA mentoring program. Thank you all for joining us today at Titan Table Talks on empowerment in the Black community. Special thanks to our moderator, Dr. Portia Jackson-Preston, for leading this dialogue. Thank you to our panelists for being vulnerable and for sharing your stories with us today, and particularly your experiences with empowerment in your own community and your own life. It is through such vulnerability and displays of self that we can better connect to each other and help facilitate empowerment for members of our community. Thank you to our partners, Alumni Engagement, Government and Community Relations, and the President's Office. We will be hosting the next Titan Table Talk on March 14th from 11:30 to 1 p.m. That month, the topic will be women's empowerment. Thanks again for being part of our conversation, and we hope you will join us next time. Thank you for being here today.